Hi, I'm Will Goldstein from the King's Court, back again. And the subject of this evening's video is what's the story behind scripture and music? So I started that a long time ago, back in about when it really started happening is 1980, but I had done some actual things a little bit before that when I was in college, getting a degree in music. But for the most part, when I graduated from college, Sonoma State University in California, I was sitting on my porch one day, and I think I saw a song, what came to be a song in Isaiah, and that's at least the way I remember it. That's way back near the very beginning. So, there's a lot of benefits to putting scripture to music. So first of all, as far as copyright goes, your scripture, I don't use any direct scripture quotes exactly from any particular, I don't quote them exactly, and I mix up, scriptures from different ones because I want to get different insights and different wordings, and I want it to be somewhat poetic. And also, I add my own thoughts to it because it's more of a meditation, so rarely is anything very close to being exact. However, there are some places. And when it is exact, I try to use something like the World English Bible that is copyright free. So that's the copyright issue of it. And then some other underlying concepts are Christian worldview. So why do I do that? Well, it's scripture, but it's also biblical scripture. So there's a worldview that's put out to the public, which many people don't have, that worldview. But it's a chance to read songs and get insights into that. So one of the main purposes of my music is evangelism. So it's almost a form of preaching. I'm not a preacher, but almost, because I'm writing songs that are kind of biblical content and giving meditations and insights into it. So it are but it's always the message of the gospel. It's always a message that's in the scripture. And I try to delve deep into the scripture through the meditations on it and to explore maybe some secret esoteric meanings behind some of the scripture. And so it also makes it to teach the world, the word, so that people can learn. And if it's not singing it exactly, part of it is probably fairly exactly to the scripture, but it certainly there has to be maintained the integrity of the scripture. So anything that I do add into it, I'm extremely careful to add. And in my opinion, I'm not a Christian, so I'm subject to error. But for the most part, I really do try to make sure that I don't add anything into it that's really not implied somehow in it, so that it maintains the integrity and the purpose of the original author that wrote the scripture. So, and by doing that, you can, if someone memorizes a song, they're memorizing some scripture, and they're also memorizing some insights into it, so it can actually be transformative in their life. And there's a lot of the songs that are evangelistic. It's not just written to a Christian mentality. So there are often sometimes people in church that maybe haven't made a commitment to Christ. So that would be a place where these kinds of songs, or learning these songs, or singing these songs, singing them in church, or downloading the songbook and singing the songs might inspire the soul, and maybe some transformations happen that way, and people do become Christians. So then it's evangelistic in that nature. Worship is a super important aspect of it. It is, a lot of the worship I'm very highly supportive of a lot of the worship songs, other worship songs that exist in the Christian community. And, but when I first started out, I knew everybody else was doing that. So I wanted to explore some of the other sides of that. Almost as though, when you're doing worship, you're communing and sort of praying and singing to God. Well, the King's Court often has the reverse. It's God speaking to the community. So it's a way of creating a dialogue. So if there's a mix of worship songs and my songs, and some of my songs are just worship songs, then it creates that dialogue back and forth. And it also can be extremely helpful for pastors when they're preaching on a given subject or a given scripture in the Bible. It can be extremely helpful for them to use the pastor's tool index and find if there's a song that's on that, because if you're talking about the New Testament, odds are extremely high. Not everything in the New Scripture has been done, but an enormous percentage of it. The odds are extremely high that you would find a song on a subject. A pastor could find that. So then that might be something useful to be done in the church, with someone, with the worship team or whoever, somebody else, a soloist or something, singing a song that goes along with the pastor's sermon. So, and then, when you are singing scripture and you're singing music that has, a spiritual content to it, it can uplift the soul and bring the soul closer to God, and both reflecting on the message of it and singing it and listening to it. So it can be very inspiring, and it can unify the church, bringing with one sort of mindset, a Christian worldview mindset, bringing the people together and inspiring them when the songs have messages that are from the gospel. It's a sort of it's different, when you're singing the scriptures and singing them and maybe repeating them and singing them over again, doing the chorus again or something. Music has a way of getting deeper into the soul rather than just reading it. In fact, the logo for my website is "Scripture comes to life in the music of the King's Court." That was one of the main concepts from the very beginning in 2000 when I started this, that once you sing it, it is much more inspiring. I mean, honestly, a lot of times when I'm singing the songs, I feel very high, and no drugs, just very uplifted from singing the songs. I'm almost like in a mystical trance or something. Anyway, so I think I talked about most of that. It is a meditation for me. It's a chance in the morning. Most of my songs were always written in the morning with a cup of coffee and, eating some breakfast or something, and just opening up the Bible and opening up some of my other tools that I use to write the songs, and a lot of deep thinking and, just reflecting on it. I sort of write like a painter paints. I actually am a painter. If you look around here, there's like 40 or 50 paintings and drawings around here, but they are a meditation, and, the way I'm trying to say is the way I write the songs is more like a painter. I just kind of put the words and get a bunch of ideas and scriptures and content of different phrases and words that I want to put in the song, and I try to piece them all together, kind of the way a painter would have a palette, and put a paintbrush in and dip and get different colors, and it's sort of, that's the way I write the lyrics. So anyway, that's the message behind this particular video, Scripture and Music, and I hope this was a little bit informative as to how all those songs were generated. And have a wonderful day, and see you again. Bye-bye.